Ethereum will hit $10,000. This is a common statement made by crypto bulls, but does it actually stand up? Now, before we can decide what price Ethereum might hit in the future, it's important to understand what exactly Ethereum is. And this is a problem because even Ethereum has a hard time explaining what Ethereum is. So I've taken upon myself to put together the most comprehensive video on all things Ethereum. So by the end of this video, you should be able to understand all of the utility and use cases for Ether and Ethereum. And you'll probably even come out of this with a few lines that you can use to your friends to sound smart in the group chat. So let's make a bet. If by the end of this video, if you learned anything new, hit that subscribe button. If you didn't learn anything new, no like, no subscribe, no nothing, because I'm here to provide that juicy value, and that's it. So to explain this, I have built a massive flow chart, an absolute massive flow chart, because you guys love these flow charts, and I think it makes everything just a little bit easier. You can see there is an absolute lot going on here. So we're going to do this piece by piece. And like I said, you're going to understand everything Ethereum and what price target makes sense by the end of this video. So starting off, Ethereum 101, 010101. Get it? You know, binary. Anyways, let's start off with what even is Ethereum? Buckle in because it's complicated. So first off, it is not just a currency. We need to get this out of our head. It's not just a regular cryptocurrency. It's not just like Bitcoin. It's not just a transfer in value. It is a whole lot more, and that's why this gets pretty complicated. So Ethereum is an open source, blockchain-based, decentralized software platform. Now, what does that mean? Let's do this piece by piece. Open source means the original software is made freely available to anyone to tinker it, to make it their own. You can check out the code yourself. You can replicate the code if you wanted to. Blockchain-based. Blockchain is basically all the actions and transactions on a blockchain are publicly available and recorded on a public ledger. Now, this is important because, like I have written here, blockchains are a way for people to agree on something even if they don't know or trust each other. And that's a really important point that we're going to cover later on. And then decentralized means Spanish for not centralized. I just completely made that up, but it really means there is no one authority or decision maker. It is not centralized. There's not one person, one organization who makes all the decisions on changes or what exactly happens within the Ethereum network. Now from here, Ether. Ether is separate from Ethereum, and there's a lot of confusion here. Ether goes by the ticker symbol ETH, and Ether is Ethereum's native currency. So Ethereum is the platform, Ether is the currency on that platform. And Ether is what you can actually buy into. So Ether is the fuel, if you will, that runs the Ethereum network. Applications pay Ethereum as gas, as fuel for every action they take, and this helps to dissuade malicious actors. This way, if there's a small fee for every single action, there's much less incentive to build a bad app, to build some kind of spam app. It's kind of like those reCAPTCHA, I don't know if that's how it's said, those security things that you're proving that you're not a robot to enter a website. It's kind of like that, but it's money, so it really helps dissuade bad actors. And buying Ethereum is kind of like buying stock in the utility of the Ethereum network. Now, I've said this before, I'll say it again. Buying a cryptocurrency should be based on the utility of that cryptocurrency. It's so different than buying a stock because with a stock, generally, you either want something that is promising that it will create a ton of value or profit in the future, or it's already producing a ton of profit. Ethereum doesn't in itself produce profit. It's not built to produce cash. Ethereum doesn't have a fiduciary duty to give you a return on your investment. So it's just something to consider. Also, it's very hard to come up with a suitable metaphor for both Ether and Ethereum. But I'm going to try either way because I spent a long time putting together this video and just sitting here kind of spinning in circles on my chair trying to figure out good metaphors, because a solid metaphor can really make things click. So I'm going to try here. This is one that's been used before. Ethereum is the internet. Now, a lot of people say Bitcoin is like gold, Ethereum is like currency, but it's not exactly. It's kind of like the internet, kind of. except there's no way to own it, meaning you can't control it, and there's no way to shut it down completely. Now, this metaphor does a pretty good job. However, it doesn't account for the actual ether. It does a good job of explaining what Ethereum is, but not the fuel that helps run Ethereum. So this is another metaphor that I came up with. Ethereum is the power grid. It's the entire system to provide power to homes and businesses and things like that. Ether is electricity. So you can kind of think of it that way. Again, there's really no perfect metaphor for this because there really isn't anything like it. You can't say it's like the Uber of X because it's like the Uber hasn't been invented yet. That's Ethereum. So also, we can't think of Bitcoin and Ethereum as the same thing. I mentioned this earlier. Let's go into it a little bit more in depth. So Bitcoin is more like digital gold or a traditional currency, except it's deflationary, unlike a traditional currency. And here's the difference. Let's say you and I want to communicate, and our options are to communicate either with Bitcoin or Ethereum. With Bitcoin, I can send a single kind of one-dimensional message, a one-dimensional transaction, and that is a sum of money to your wallet. With Ethereum, I can send logic. And what I mean by that is you can send an if-then statement. Basically, if this happens, or if you do this, or if I do this, then do this. It's a much more smart version of the blockchain. Moving on from here, let's talk about the goals of Ethereum. There's a few major goals that I wanted to talk about. First off is banking for everyone. And this is absolutely huge. And one of the things that, frankly, I'm the most excited about with just cryptocurrencies in general, no matter who the #1 leader ends up to be. This is not to be confused with free money for everyone. And the most common use for this is DeFi, decentralized finance. And this is something that I am extremely excited about, and I actually do myself with a large portion of my cryptocurrency portfolio. I guess we can talk about this right now. If I go over to my other screen here, this is the site that I use, the brokerage that I use for most of my crypto transactions at this point, because they allow you to do a ton of stuff. This is KuCoin. They allow you to buy and sell cryptocurrencies. They allow you to lend out cryptocurrencies. They allow you to stake cryptocurrencies, tons of stuff. And this is where I do my DeFi, lending out money to earn a solid return. And you can make a pretty darn good amount of money. So I'll have a link for that in the description. Also, kind of a way that I do DeFi, or started doing DeFi myself to decentralize how I can earn money as a creator, is I started a Patreon. So if you want to join, that is 100% an option. With this Patreon, you get Discord access to all my buy alerts for both stocks and crypto, and I'm going to post some videos on here early. So if you're a Patreon member, you will get access to my content early. For instance, this video was posted on my Patreon about 12 hours before it was actually posted on my YouTube, so you can get a little bit earlier access. Now back to Ethereum. DeFi is basically financing that doesn't involve middlemen. This is why it's so huge, because it helps bank people who don't have access to any banking services, maybe someone who has bad credit, or maybe someone who is from a third world country without access to legitimate banking. They're able to loan money and invest without these gatekeepers that are these lenders and banks that honestly keep certain groups down. Also, you can earn more and save more with DeFi because there's no middleman. Because I'm not depositing my money into a bank and then they're lending it out to someone else and they're taking all their fees and paying me a 0.1% interest rate. I actually earn money off of my money, plus the person who is lending that money gets more favorable rates. Everyone's winning because there isn't a massive middleman in the middle. And this comes down to a lot of what Ethereum does is kind of eliminating middlemen. And it makes sense just as progress happens, middlemen become less and less necessary. And that's kind of a common theme here. Now, another goal of them is a more private internet. Keep your mind out of the gutter. Or not, because this will help keep your mind in the gutter, I suppose. But this helps by increasing the ability to be more anonymous because you can make transactions, well, remaining anonymous. I mean, that's simple enough. Much harder to hack because of these public ledgers, because everything's out in the open. It's much harder for a malicious actor to take control, and no one owns it. It's the decentralized aspect. No one has complete control over the network. Also, censorship resistance, which I know is a really popular topic right now. A lot of people are concerned about just being able to say whatever they need to say or want to say, freedom of speech, what have you. He loved Big Brother. Let me know if you know that reference. All right. And this is possible because there's no central authority. Again, there's not one person who's like, you know what, I don't like when people say that. You shouldn't say that. No, it's a general consensus, and it'd be very hard for any one group to take this control. Everything needs a consensus. Everyone needs to agree upon this, the majority. Also, honesty is rewarded. So bad actors actually have a reverse incentive because you are incentivized to do good. You make money by doing good in these systems. And then finally, a goal is a peer-to-peer network, which is in the beginnings of actually happening right now as we speak, because who doesn't want to be closer to their peers? And this brings us to the next section here. The name is contracts. Smart contracts. So what are smart contracts? And I am absolutely in love with smart contracts. Seriously, because I don't like middlemen. Not at all. A smart contract is a self-executed agreement. Now, what exactly does that mean? Basically, it's a person-to-person if-then statement. So if we have some kind of agreement that if I send you this product, then you pay me $20, that's an if-then statement. And a smart contract allows you to do that with no middlemen whatsoever. There's no one in the middle taking their 20, 30% cut. Now, this will happen through what is called DApps, decentralized applications. Goodbye, middlemen. GTFO. And here's some examples of that. Was a bit aggressive. Here's some examples of this. Selling online, like we just mentioned. Let's say you sell something on eBay. Right now, eBay takes a solid cut of whatever you sell in order to be the middleman and facilitate any disputes, because we have two groups who don't potentially trust each other, and there's an execution of a transaction, and there can be a bad actor. With a smart contract, it's much harder to have a bad actor. A membership video platform. Now, this is something that's really interesting. So we could have potentially a site like YouTube where, let's say you pay in $10 a month. And how your $10 a month gets spent is determined on who you watch. So it could be something like, for every video from a creator you watch, that creator gets 1 penny, or something like that, of that $10 that you spent, or they get some fraction of that $10 that you spent. And this would eliminate the middleman, which is YouTube, who takes something like 45% of all ad revenue. Hopefully they don't see this, so they don't pull this video down from the internet. But it makes sense because the user is paying less than they would. Right now, you're paying basically by watching ads, but you'd pay that fee, and the creator would make more because there's no middleman. And a final example here would be stock purchases. Right now, there are all sorts of clearinghouses and brokers where every stock purchase needs to go through this verification process. It's long, it's arduous, it doesn't really make total sense. It can be done better. This is literally transferring ownership from one person to another. This could absolutely be done with a decentralized app and the blockchain. Now back up to Ethereum and its potential risk factors, because of course there are risk factors. Now, some of these are just with cryptos in general. Some of them are more inherent to where Ethereum stands as of right now. So the first one, it's still new. Ethereum's only about 5 years old, and there are others trying to do similar things. There's Polkadot, there's ADA. We don't know exactly who is going to be the absolute winner. As of right now, Ethereum is on the top. We don't know if they will still be on the top 3 years from now, 5 years from now, 7 years from now. There is so much volatility. Any purchase of Ethereum is subject to extreme volatility, potentially 80, 90% reductions in value in price. Also subject to 100, 200% swings upwards in price. Extreme volatility. This is not something where you want to slap your life savings into and just kind of YOLO and hope for the best. You probably want to, root your investments in stable cash flowing things first, and then maybe have a small speculative bucket for something like this on the side. But of course, I'm not your mom. Do whatever you want. Government regulation. This could potentially hamper all cryptocurrencies in general. Gas fees. Now, this has been a complaint of Ethereum as it's been getting popular and popular, that transactions are costing more and more. And this kind of takes away from the whole purpose of Ethereum, being that it allows for microtransactions and things that weren't possible in the past. And this has been a bottleneck with the transactions per second and the amount of fees that it takes in order to process these transactions. Also, there has been a slow transition to proof of stake, and many people are kind of frustrated by how long this has taken. Again, probably because of the gas fees that are adding up. And something that I'm concerned about, I actually haven't seen this mentioned anywhere, but the more I dug into this, the more I'm like, there may be an issue when it comes to incentives for decentralized app developers, because I just foresee some problems here. It's a completely different business model. So currently, you work hard to build an application, people start to use it, you get rewarded by being the middleman and getting your hefty 20, 30, 40% cut. This is completely different because the whole point is kind of no middlemen, no fees in the middle. So what's the incentive for someone to spend hard-earned money or hours of their life building an app that there's not a huge incentive because they can't be the middleman? Now, there's a few options. They could charge a flat fee, which would be, less than what a typical middleman would charge. And I think people would be totally okay with that. However, there's a risk to that because someone could copy your code and charge less. Now, there is a bit of a network effect and marketing effect where if you're the first person to do it, people will stick with you, but it's definitely a risk nevertheless. Here's some potential solutions that I thought of, but there's still, I'm still concerned about this. So an app could have a native token built on the Ethereum network. Now, I know this already happens. Basically, let's say you build on the Ethereum network, one of your decentralized app, and then you make a token specifically for your app, and you get a bulk of those tokens once you launch your app. Your app gets more popular, your tokens increase in value because more people are holding them. That's one way to earn money from your decentralized app. Donations. This is pretty popular. I mean, I have a Patreon. Feel free to join. People join this kind of thing, and they're willing to support good creators, good causes. So that's an option, but I'm not sure you could become the next Google by donations. And then ads. Most people don't like ads, but that'd be an option for monetization and an incentive for people to build these things. And then finally, let's do our consensus here. Not a consensus mechanism, but just the consensus about Ethereum. This to summarize our thoughts. So first off, it makes so much sense. Something like this will absolutely happen. This is the future. This is the kind of thing where the more I learn about it, the more I'm excited about it. I'm just like, wow, this should have already happened. This is amazing. So someone's going to win. Just will it be Ethereum? Who will do it? Now into the price. What will Ethereum do? Where will the price go? Now, many people, especially with recent runs up in price, and the last year has been amazing for Ethereum, expect very, very high amounts. Now, a $1 trillion market cap isn't unreasonable. Right now, we're at about a third of that. And I think that could be possible within the next 12 to 24 months. Honestly, realistically, I personally would give it a greater than 50% chance. However, we don't know for sure. Someone could come into the game who's not even started yet and take over the marketplace. Someone like Polkadot could win. Someone like ADA could win. I mean, I'm not bearish on either of those. I hold ADA and I hold Ethereum personally. I think they're both going to do extremely well. I don't know which one is going to be the ultimate winner. And that's just the way that these things go right now. So in order to hit a $1 trillion market cap, it would have to increase by about 200%. Now that's crazy if you compare it to any stock. Not that crazy when you compare it to a cryptocurrency, an entirely new industry, which you can kind of think of as basically a new internet. Like, would you buy stock of the internet in 1975 when it was first coming out? Also, the fact that in the last year it has increased by more than 1,000% makes 200% not sound as crazy. However, by increasing 1,000%, it could decrease half and still be up a huge amount from 1 year ago. So of course, there are some major risk factors. But again, Ethereum is something that I am very excited about. And as I was going through this, it just makes me more and more excited. And honestly, it kind of makes me want to buy even more Ethereum. So I would like to thank you for watching. If you learned anything new, make sure you subscribe, hit the like button, share this video if you found it valuable, and I hope you have a profitable day.